Whenever we go through anything difficult, everyone always says, trust God, trusting His timing. But does anyone really talk about how difficult trusting God can be? All right, girl, we're going to talk about it, because if you're anything like me, yes, we know, trust God, but it can be a little bit difficult, especially when we're waiting for an answer or a breakthrough or something to change in a circumstance that we feel like is so dire. But the important thing is to remember that God's word says that He is never late, He is never early, but He is always on time. So if you're like me and you have struggled with trusting God's timing, this video is for you. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some truths and practical ways to trust God even in the wait. Have you ever watched a movie that you've seen a couple times and you already know what's going to happen, right? So the main character might be facing this problem and she just doesn't see a way out or how it's going to work out. But you know, because you've seen the movie before, that it all works out for her in the end. Well, that's kind of like how God sees us, right? He knows the beginning and the end. He knows everything that's going to happen before it even happens. So while we're stressing over this little detail, God already knows what is going to happen and when it's going to happen. God always sees the overall bigger picture. And in Isaiah 55, 8-9, it says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways." So even though we think that we know how to handle a certain situation and we know how we feel is the perfect way for it to play out, God sees everything, He knows everything, and He knows what's best. So if things ever are not happening as fast as you want them to happen, just know that maybe God is working something out for your good, greater than you could even imagine. It also helps to turn our worries into prayers. I have been classified as an overthinker, okay? I can take any little situation and spiral for hours and hours thinking about all the different scenarios, this and that, and trust me, it is not productive at all. But one thing that I started to realize is that when I catch myself spiraling and overthinking about the littlest things, I stop and I just say a little prayer and I give it to God. Philippians 4, 6-7 says, "Don't be anxious about anything. Instead, pray about everything." So instead of stressing and overthinking and spiraling, I literally just stop. I breathe and I say a simple prayer. Something along the lines of, "Okay, God, I don't get this. I don't know what's going on, but I trust you. And I trust that you will work everything out for my good. So I'm giving it to you." Y'all see, something that simple, you may think like, okay, that's so simple. But trust me, the weight that you feel when you truly believe and have faith that God does have it and you give it to Him, okay, 10 out of 10, try it. It worked. And then we have to realize that a delay is not a denial. I know we are so used to this world where everything is so microwave ready, right? We get this when we want it. We have it fast. We get everything that we want when we want it, right? Well, God's timing is not on our timing. And so we have to remember, just because He has not done it yet, doesn't mean He's not going to do it at all. I know a lot of times we may have been praying for this one thing and we've seemed like we've prayed and prayed and prayed. We've prayed for weeks. We've prayed for months. We might even have prayed for years. But just because God hasn't answered it yet doesn't mean He's going to answer it. But we have to keep our faith in the thing that we're believing for. In Habakkuk 2:3, it says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it delays, it is surely coming." And this is just so encouraging because it means that God's timing is perfect. And it might not come when we think is the perfect time because, as we know, God sees all. So He knows the appointed time that thing will come to pass. And the wonderful thing that I love about God is that all of the time, it's so much greater than we could have imagined or ever thought about. And so we might get comfortable with, okay, we know we have to wait. A delay is not a denial. So what do we do when we're waiting, right? We have to stay faithful while we wait. And this one hits me hard, y'all, because I love to ask God, okay, but if not now, than when, right? We love to know when things are going to happen, but that's not how God works all of the time. And in Matthew 6:34, it says, don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will worry about itself. So instead of worrying about when something is going to happen in the future, just be faithful in the today. Keep showing up, keep praying, and keep preparing for what God has. And so we're doing the work. And now we have to realize that sometimes God might have us in a waiting season because he's preparing us for what he's about to do. James 1:3-4 says, the testing of our faith produces perseverance. And there are countless stories in the Bible that go with this fact, right? Abraham had to wait for his son. Noah had to build his ark and wait for it to rain. So if you're in the waiting season, maybe God is just strengthening you and preparing you for what is about to come. The waiting process can strengthen your patience, it can build your faith, and it can shape your heart. And so as we're in the waiting season and we're preparing our hearts, we need to know that God's word is always true. When doubt creeps in, cling to God's word and his promises. In Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that all things work together for the good of those who love him. So even when it feels like God isn't really working behind the scenes, maybe you feel like he's forgotten you in that waiting season, just remember that every closed door, every delay, and every unanswered prayer is a part of God's plan. So hopefully this encouraged you today. If you guys are currently going through a waiting season, just remember these truths. And although the waiting season can be hard, just know that it builds your faith and God's timing is always perfect. So let me know in the comments, what is something you're trusting God's timing for? I'll see you guys in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye guys.